Hello. Good afternoon, my friends. I hope you guys are having an amazing afternoon, amazing day wherever you are. I hope your energy is blooming, rising to the stars. And I say, the world is magical. And today we got a magical conversation for you, my friend Scott Wolter, host of America Unearthed, and deep dive delver into the Templars of America. I apologize. And honestly, a researcher in the Kensington Rune Stone. He has a lot to talk about, a lot for you. Now, just listen, be patient. Hey, man, how's it going?
Hey, it's going really good, Joseph. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it, man.
Hey, I am blessed to have this conversation. I actually first heard you from Cliff Dunning's Earth Ancients, and my God, man, what an enlightening conversation, my friend. You see, this world needs to be talked about the way that we are now about to talk about it. America is one of the most interesting places in the world for what is truly here. We are literally one of the most glorified nations of the world. You know, we have this image, we have this soul, but everything we know about America is not what is truly being told. And my friend can help you understand a few of those things. Am I right?
Well, I think so. To be honest with you, I really wasn't all that interested in history up until about 22 years ago when well, let me back up for a sec. I've been running a materials forensic laboratory called American Petrographic Services, a sister company to American Engineering and Testing, since 1990, which that's getting to be a long time ago now. But anyway, so what we do there is essentially material forensics, or what I simplify it to is autopsies on concrete and rock. And whenever there's a failure of some type, whether a concrete has low strength, it cracks, there's fire damage, the top peels off, whatever the case may be, they will take samples, send them to us. We will do our microscopic analysis, and we will determine what caused a particular problem. Now, as you may know, concrete is comprised largely of rock. The Portland cement is fired limestone. It's sand, coarse aggregate or rock, and water basically are the main ingredients to Portland cement. It gets a little bit more complicated than that when we make concrete, but essentially those are the ingredients, and they're all natural rocks, if you will. So being a geologist, it's actually more appropriate for us to do the work that most people think. But we've also had interesting projects come into our lab, like mysterious stone artifacts like the Kensington Rune Stone, which came into my lab in July of 2000. And boy, my life changed after that. I never heard of the Rune Stone. I didn't know what it was. I had no idea of the controversy and this hidden history, if you will, of this continent and indeed the world. So when the stone came in, I did my analysis. I actually did a weathering study where I compared the weathering of the inscription with the weathering of tombstones of known age, so I could get a sense of the age of the weathering. And when I got done, I concluded that the weathering was centuries old, and that was from the date that it was pulled out of the ground in 1898, because it hadn't been in a weathering environment since. And therefore, if it was hundreds of years old, it couldn't possibly be the late 19th century hoax that everybody claimed. And I said it was genuine. And that's when the trouble started. Boy, oh boy. And, it was so strange because, I've worked on all kinds of projects. I've worked on catastrophic failures where people have been killed and, very serious stuff. We did all the work at the Pentagon on the structural concrete and beams after 9/11. And so, we get involved in some pretty intense stuff. But I have never experienced what I experienced when I did the work on the Rune Stone. I had people that basically looked at me and said, well, that's wrong. It's a hoax. And I said, no, didn't you read my report? It's not a hoax. It's hundreds of years old. Therefore, it must be genuine. And eventually, people got nasty with me. And it turns out and I said to them, look, if you find something that I did wrong, point it out to me. I'm not perfect. I'll fix it. That wasn't the issue. The issue was they didn't like the results. Well, guess what? Sometimes life doesn't always go your way, right? Tough hop. It is what it is, and the results are the results. Well, that's when I started to try to understand, why are these people so upset? Why do they not want this thing to be genuine? I thought they'd be happy. Well, that is when I realized that there's a certain historical narrative that certain powers that be want people to believe. It's not based on facts. It's not based on evidence. It's all based on propaganda, mis and disinformation. And, I really never thought much about it. I was never really into conspiracy theories that much. I mean, I'm the type of person that does investigations into any type of question that you want to try to answer, but you have to come to me with facts, with evidence, with hard science, not speculation, not unsupported opinion. And that's really what the runestone conclusion that it was a hoax was all based on. And it quickly became apparent to me that there were larger forces at work here. And I now know what those larger forces are, and I know why they don't want the truth about the runestone and about North America to be known. They have their agenda, and it's about power, manipulation, control over the masses. And we are being controlled, and it's based largely on just bullshit history. I'm sorry. I'm just going to call it what it is. So now that we know well, here's what happened. Once I established in my mind that the runestone was an authentic 14th century artifact, because it's dated 1362, which is the middle part of the 14th century. The next questions that I wanted to understand was who carved it, where did they come from, and why did they come all the way over here to the center of the continent to carve this long inscription? And the fact is, if this is a medieval artifact, which it is, there has to be answers to those questions. Somebody did it, they came from someplace, and they came here for some reason. And after delving into those questions, after following the evidence trail, it went straight to the Knights Templar and nobody else. And frankly, it was one of the easiest evidence trails that I've ever followed. And here we are. We're talking about the Templars. The question then is, why did they come over here? The reason they came over here is because they had suffered persecution from two entities. One was the Roman Catholic Church, and the other was the monarchs of Europe. In this particular case, the King of France, when it came to the Templars, they're put down in 1307. But we still had the same issue in England and other places around Europe and other monarchies that basically were legitimized by the Roman Catholic Church. Those two entities working together to elevate themselves above the people. And over here in America, our founding fathers decided that they wanted to have a government, to have a nation where the people were elevated above the government. Now, it's not perfect, as we all know, but that was the goal. And the whole idea of a republic that used democratic principles like voting, free and fair elections, has really been the reason that America has ascended to be the most powerful nation in the world, where people want to live, where they can be free to practice whatever religion they want, to have freedom of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And it all started with the Templars. And this is the story that we're bringing out now. The Templars came over here, And one of the most important things that most people don't understand, and I get questions all the time, well, how the heck would the Templars come over here and operate for centuries without anybody knowing about it? Well, first and foremost, they didn't tell anyone what they were doing. Secondly, and this is really an important thing that I want your audience to understand, is that when they came over here, who do you think they ran into? The indigenous people, right? Of course. And at that time, the Templars aren't going to fight their way to Kensington, what is now Kensington, Minnesota, in the geographic center of the continent. There's no way that's going to happen. The natives would never have let them. In fact, the Templars bonded with the indigenous people through ritual and intermarriage. They became literally blood brothers. And once they established that relationship, they were free to go wherever they wanted. And that's what they did. And I know this because it's logical. I also know this because I have talked to the indigenous people, to the medicine men, who are part of a secret society that the Native Americans have, that 99% of Americans have no clue that they practice. It's the same rituals as Freemasonry, right? So what does that tell you? The Templars had to have been practicing these rituals to bond with the natives. So when people ask me, does Freemasonry go back to medieval Templars? The answer is of course. But this bond between the natives and the Templars is critical to understand how the Templars could operate over on this continent for centuries, and their bloodline ancestors before them, going all the way back to the 1st century Hebrews, Jesus's people, and beyond, the Phoenicians and beyond. So for people to say something ridiculous like Columbus discovered America, I mean, it's just nonsense. I mean, this guy never set foot on the earth that we now call America, right? The United States of America, that already had millions of people living here. That premise is just ridiculous. So that's my short version. How was that, Joseph?
That's an amazing, in-depth intro to how we can go ahead and convert to this Templar talk. Now, honestly, America is ran by Freemasonry. The energies, the symbolisms. Literally, I know that like Freemasons built Seattle, the cities, and the way that it's structured. Everything about this country is very Masonic, occultic, esoteric, and it's. I would also kind of think that it's empowering all of our citizens on some subconscious spiritual level. A lot of people don't understand it, but it is. The imagery, the words, vibrations that are being echoed, chanted. There is literally some energies being played with, and it's awesome. It's. I mean, some of the things in America are good, some of the things are bad. But you know, it is what it is.
There's no doubt that Freemasonry has had a huge impact on the founding of this nation, you know, from the very beginning, but also after that. And they did that for a lot of reasons. One is they wanted to, like you said, create the right vibrations by using sacred geometry in the layout of our cities and towns and our nation. In fact, it's a giant matrix that has individual little cells that all interconnect. And in fact, the same is true with the indigenous people. If you look at the massive earthworks that go all the way across the nation, all through this continent. Remember, the natives didn't recognize the United States of America and Canada and Mexico and so on. There were no geographic borders at that time. It was all just the land, right? It was they called it the Great Turtle, North America. But there is a whole network of earthworks all across the country that is actually interconnected, a lot like the way our cities have been laid out in this country, using this sacred geometry that our brethren used in the past when they laid out our cities. I mean, the best example of that, of course, is in Washington, D.C., which is something that I've written about, that my wife has written about, Alan Butler has written about in great detail, and it's actually absolutely magical. And they did that for a number of reasons, but really at the end of the day, it was for spiritual reasons, to help bless and protect and manifest this positive energy and this future success that we want to keep going. And, you know, right now things are really tough, and it's really a time for some tough talk, frankly, because a lot of the people that are in our government that are talking about the tenets of the Constitution and what our founding fathers believed and what their goals were and their beliefs were and what they saw the future of this country to be, they'd have no idea what they're talking about. It's complete BS. And frankly, if they want to understand what our founding fathers intended, they might want to start by talking to the leadership within Freemasonry, because we know what they intended, and we know why they intended those things, and we know what the history is. And this is a big part of the work that I'm doing right now with a big group of people that have helped us in this research. And it's important. It needs to get out now more than ever because of all this silliness that's happening in Washington. Let's just take a step back, folks, get out of the way, stop talking, and let us help you understand, what really happened.
It's been an ancient war. I would suggest that to my viewers that the reason why America isn't being told for what its true history is because of the ancient spirituality that lay dormant here, and how we really are like 2 or 3 times more empowered once we like establish this sacred connection. And I believe it was the reason why the native Indians were very protective of these lands. They knew about it on a magical level. I think that in some essence, when the Bible references some of these like times, wars, whatever, these location stories, North America is a huge role in it. I firmly believe that it, honestly, I really do.
Yeah. No, I think you're right about that. And, like I said, the white people that came here and persecuted the natives, starting with colonization. And that wasn't the first time there were people that came from other continents here to this, and interacted with the native people. There were many cultures that came here in the past, and they figured out how to interact with the natives. I mean, the native people are very welcoming. They're very kind people, but they also demand a certain level of respect and brotherhood and sisterhood. And the Templars understood that, because they were, the leadership of the Templars were not the good Catholics that everybody thought they were. This is absolute BS that has been perpetrated on really the world, that they were, the fighting arm of the Catholic Church. These guys were not Catholic. They simply pretended to be Catholic. They actually embraced the duality of the Godhead that we talked about before, because their ideological belief systems go way back to the Israelites, to Egypt and beyond. This is an ancient faith that predated the manufactured Christianity that borrowed from these old religions and created this patriarchal disaster that we've been, dealing with for 1700 years, since the Council of Nicaea officially. And it's done more damage to humanity than anything else I can think of. And the sooner we put an end to it, the better. And I know a lot of people aren't going to like that, but I'm telling you, we need to embrace this balance, this respect for women, for science, for nature, for our planet. Otherwise, we're not going to be here long, and we're really on a treacherous course right now. And I don't mean to be all doom and gloom, but I think people need frank talk. They need to hear the truth about what's going on and what we need to do to get out of this mess, because we're in a hell of a mess right now. And if we don't change what we're doing, we're not going to be here much longer. And I want to be here longer. I'm speaking out for what I think is the truth, because I want to leave the world a better place than I found it. I want my kids, my grandkids, and the ones that I'll never meet to enjoy this amazing planet Earth that I've enjoyed. And, somebody's got to speak up. So I'm doing it.
Yo, you got the right information. To get right to the core of America. That's why everybody loves us. That's why all these countries want to have their influence on us. So the whole world, I mean, for this, let's see, about 100 years, maybe more, has had their eyes on us. Their heart, their spirit. It's more to than just like physical. It's not just physical anymore. Like what we're experiencing, the vibes we're experiencing, the conversations, the motivation, inspiration. It's beyond just a physical thing. America has this overwhelming energy that's like creative arts, creative spirits. It runs through us in these conversations, and delving into these conversations, we can help heal. We can help fix this planet. We can help create the balance. I know myself, like literally, the more I started getting into these esoteric beliefs and understanding like the ancient past or what it really is, like the easier it was to heal my garden. I literally just saw it flourish just in a matter of like a year. Literally, I turned it from like dead to alive, and it was, I literally refound the spirit of the ancients. I would say it's quite a fascinating journey. Now, let's go ahead and talk a bit about your books, Templars in America. If we can go ahead and delve into this. I understand that your time is limited today, so for all my viewers, we will have another episode in the near future. So, yes, sir.
Yeah, no, that's great, and I apologize for that, but there's a lot going on right now, and I'm trying to juggle a lot of balls, and I'm kind of fumbling here, but I'll catch them. Well, as far as my books go, if you go way back, I wrote a couple of books about Lake Superior agates, which is the Minnesota State gemstone, something that's very near and dear to my heart. In fact, hang on one sec. I'm just going to grab one and show it to you so you can see what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Remember, crystals, gemstones are very important to our balance of our room, our energy, our family.
Yeah. Well, here is one right here. Can you see the colors?
See. Yes.
Yeah. This is a pretty nice one. This one's about 1.75 pounds. My wife really likes this one. There you go. You can see it a little bit. It's a little out of focus, but anyway, that's one. And then here's another one that's one of my favorites. Do you see those tubes on there, those circles? There you go. That one is a beauty too, and that one's about 1.25 pounds. But anyway, those are just a couple of examples of some of the some really nice Lakers that we have. But those two books I started, that got me going when I was a young guy. My first book was published when I was 26, back when the Mayflower came over. You probably heard about it. And then I wrote another one when I turned 40, and I called it The Halftime of My Life, called One Man's Journey. So those are out there. And if you Google Lake Superior agate books, Scott Wolter, I'm sure they'll come up. The next book that I wrote was called The Kensington Rune Stone, Compelling New Evidence. And I co-authored that with a linguist, a guy who was also an engineer. His name was Dr. Richard Nielsen. And he is, well, at the time, Dick passed away about 5 years ago. Oh, geez. I guess it's almost 7 years ago now. My gosh, I can't believe it. But anyway, Dick was without a doubt the world's foremost expert on medieval old Swedish medieval runes, and certainly the Kensington Rune Stone. And that book is 574 pages. It is the Bible on the Kensington Rune Stone. And I will tell you that Dick and I went down every single rabbit hole there was when it came to the Rune Stone. We investigated every rumor, anything and everything that was ever said about the stone, all of the investigations that were done. And I will say it's a great book, and it solved the Kensington Rune Stone. Now, there's a couple things I want to tell you about that book that are very important, and about the Rune Stone. There are a lot of people out there that want to give Dick and I credit for solving the Kensington Rune Stone, and that's not true. The first guy to make a definitive statement about the authenticity of the Kensington Rune Stone was the first state geologist of Minnesota. His name was Newton H. Winchell. And in 1909 and 1910, he investigated the Kensington Rune Stone. He was hired by the Minnesota Historical Society to investigate that stone. And on December 9th of 1909, he wrote his conclusion, and he said, the said stone is not a modern forgery and must be accepted as a genuine record of exploration in Minnesota at the date stated in the inscription. Now, in no uncertain terms, he said, this is an authentic artifact. All we did 90 years later, and I didn't know about Winchell's work when I did my own work. So actually what happened is I independently replicated what he already did, and I reached the same conclusion. That's called scientific method, folks. So I'm very proud of that. But make no mistake, Dick did a lot of good work, and the Rune Stone is authentic. But let's just take a step back and talk about the issue that we're dealing with right now. A lot of people in this world get their information from Wikipedia online, right? Now, anybody who's a serious researcher knows that Wikipedia is a bunch of BS, right? But here is what has happened to me, okay? Now, there is no doubt that the Kensington Rune Stone is authentic, okay? All the evidence in multiple disciplines are consistent, cohesive, and conclusive. But if you go on Wikipedia, you won't see any of my work, any of my books referenced, nothing. I have been sanitized from the internet as far as my work on the Rune Stone. But if you go into their references, they will cite a book that was written by an academic, a woman by the name of Alex Beck Kehoe, who is a professor of archaeology. She's retired now. At the University of Wisconsin. And she wrote a book a year after our book was published. And her book basically said that we had solved the Kensington Rune Stone. Now, that book is cited on Wikipedia, but not the book that she wrote about, our book. So this just goes to show you that they don't even know what they're doing. They're sanitizing the people that think they need to shut up, but they really don't do a very good job of it. But I'm just telling you, this is an example of the BS that's going on. So that was the first book I wrote about the Kensington Rune Stone. And that book, we just started to go down the road of the Templars. So the next book I did was something called The Hooked X, Key to the Secret History of North America. That book was published in 2009. Our first book was published in 2005. In that book, I discovered what I thought at the time, and I now know is right, the meaning of one of the mysterious symbols on the Rune Stone, which is an X that has a hook in the upper right arm. Now, that symbol is being used for the letter A, or the A sound, in these inscriptions. And I've also determined that the hooked X is a straight line stonemason's version of the Hebrew Aleph symbol. Now, if you go back into Hebrew mysticism and the Kabbalah, you will learn that the Aleph symbol is used. It's the first letter in the Hebrew alphabet, and it also talks about oneness, meaning oneness with God. In other words, it's an abbreviation for God. So if the Aleph is an abbreviation for God, and the hooked X is a straight line version of the Hebrew Aleph, both being used for the first letter in the respective alphabets, that means that the hooked X is a symbol of deity. Now, if you take the X symbol, there we go, and you chop it in half, okay, symbolically, the peak is the sword, the phallic, the symbol for the male, okay? It's like the upward pointing triangle. It's essentially the same thing. The V on top is the vessel, the chalice, the womb, the symbol for the female. Combined together in an X, you have the allegorical union of male and female, heaven and earth, good, bad, light, dark, this concept of dualism that we talked about at the very beginning. Now, the question then becomes, what is the hook in the upper right arm? Well, if you look at the hooked X, it makes a little V inside the womb of the mother, right? In other words, a child in the womb of the mother with daddy down below. And it begs this question. I'm going to ask you a question, Joseph. What is the Holy Trinity?
Well, initially when I was raised, it was meant to be the Holy Father, the Son, and the Spirit. But the more that I grew and the more that I understood, I mean, I kind of related it to mind, body, soul. But then there's like masculine, feminine, and I would say spirit. There's like a couple different meanings. Like the more I grow, the more I understand that there's a deeper meaning to it.
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure. Well, let me just distill it down to something that's pretty simple, I think. So we have the Father, right? The Son, and the Holy Spirit. Now, the Holy Spirit is not well defined in Christianity, is it? I mean, many people, it's the Spirit in you, or, you know, it's not very well defined. To me, it's pretty obvious. The hooked X tells us what the Holy Trinity is. You got the Father, you got the child. Who's missing? Mama, right? I mean, hello, that Holy Spirit, that divine energy, that life-giving force is the feminine aspect of deity. So that Holy Trinity is embodied within the hooked X, which I think is absolutely beautiful. And it's emblazoned on the rune stone 22 times. It's also found on 4 other rune stones that have been discovered in North America that people don't even talk about. Well, we know the reason for that, right? So the truth of the matter is this. The Roman Catholic Church is the primary funder of Wikipedia. The Roman Catholic Church also was a primary funder of the Smithsonian Institution, who have been lying to us for about 150 years. So when you take a look at that in that context, all of a sudden things start to make a lot of sense, right? Because here's the problem. Once you accept the Kensington Rune Stone as being an authentic medieval artifact, what happens is it triggers a series of dominoes to fall. And those dominoes go to some very inconvenient places for the Roman Catholic Church and other powers that be that they don't want us to know about. One of them is what I just told you. So the Templars were on it. The Templars were the ideological ancestors of my deceased Masonic brethren, who were the founding fathers that founded this nation. And here's a fact that many people don't realize. 53 of the 56 signers of the Declaration were Master Masons. And I've said this before on other shows, and I'll say it again. Make no mistake that the tenets that our country, the United States of America, was founded on the tenets of Freemasonry. Make no mistake about that. So when people are talking about, what our founding fathers intended, you better talk to us in the craft, because we know exactly what they were talking about. And frankly, a lot of our politicians who are talking like they know what they're talking about don't know. So that's all I have to say about that.
So you guys deciphered the Kensington Rune Stone. Do you think?
Yep.
Okay. How long is it? How
I
long
can
is
tell
like
you real
the
quick,
inscription?
if you want me to
Okay,
tell
yeah.
you, I'll tell you what it says.
Yes,
And
sir.
I'll tell you what the rune stone is too. And I'll explain that.
What
So it
material?
starts-
Like what? Sorry. What material do you
No, go
think?
ahead.
Like, so what material is this?
You're going to regret asking me that question, because the rune stone was carved out of a stone that's called a Paleoproterozoic. That's the name of the time period that it came from, which is about 1.1 to 1.2 billion years old. And actually, it's probably closer to 2 billion years old with the, but it's a metagraywacke. It's actually a sedimentary rock that has been cooked and heated and squeezed geologically over, hundreds of millions of years to this very strong, dense, tough rock that actually, the bedrock source is up near Duluth, Minnesota. I actually mapped those rocks when I was in college. So when I looked at it in thin section under the microscope, I recognized the properties of the rock right away. And then presumably about 2 million years ago, when the Great Ice Age started in the Northern Hemisphere, it sent lobes of ice that were up to a mile thick down into parts of Minnesota, plucked out that rock from the Thompson Dam area just south of Duluth, Minnesota, and carried it presumably somewhere near the Kensington area. We don't know for sure, but the carver of that stone, who was a member of the Templars, saw this big flat tabular rock. He then split it down to exactly a 2-to-1 ratio. That was not a coincidence either. That was something that we recognized. That is a Masonic principle. All of our lodges are what we call an oblong square, roughly 2-to-1 dimension, a very sacred dimension. And then he carved 9 lines of text on the face side, the front, and then 3 lines of text on what I call the split side. So, yeah, the medicine wheels, absolutely. I've been to the medicine wheel out in Colorado, and it's absolutely amazing. The indigenous people were tracking the moon, the sun, the stars, the planets, the constellations. They had it all figured out long before the Europeans came here. But in any case, so the runestone has 12 lines of text, and it says this. It starts with a number, a pentatic number. Pentatic numbers are very interesting, and they're actually quite easy. I can teach you pentatic numbers in less than 10 seconds. Are you ready for this? Okay. All you do is you just make a vertical line and then add a slash at the top. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. You add a half loop. That's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. A full loop is 10. You put it in Arabic placement. You can make any number you want. How's that?
That's easy. Real easy.
All right. So the first number on the runestone is the number 8. Now, the number 8 is also a very sacred number in Freemasonry and for sure in Templarism. If you look at a Templar cross, it has 8 points, right? You look at many things in Templarism, the number 8 is the number. In any case, it says 8 Gotlanders and 22 Northmen, Norwegians, on this acquisition business / taking up land from Vinland far to the west. Now, acquisition business, taking up land, tells you what the purpose of the runestone was. It's a land claim, right? And so it was a land claim. That's why they wanted to come over here. They needed a stake in the ground far to the west from Vinland. Vinland is on the east coast of North America. And far to the west, I think they mean all the way across the continent. I think they were claiming the entire continent. In any case, from Vinland far to the west, we had a camp near 2 shelters, 1 day's journey north from this stone. We were fishing one day after we came home, found 10 men red from blood and death, not dead, death. And then there's 3 Latin letters, AVM, which is very interesting because a lot of people immediately thought that it was a Catholic prayer prompt for Ave Virgo Maria. But for those who understand Latin, you know that the V and U are interchangeable. And if you use AUM instead of AVM, you come up with a very interesting esoteric concept called Aum. And for those deeply initiated people that are very spiritual, they will understand what I'm talking about. And then the last line on the face side said, saved from evils. On the split side, the last 3 lines said, there are 10 men by the inland sea to look after our ships, 14 days journey from this island, year 1362, carved in pentatic numbers in Arabic placement, 1362. And there you go. And I should point out that 1362 is 130 years before Chris. Remember the guy we talked about that never set foot on the continent, that guy?
Yeah,
And
I hope
that's interesting because one of the arguments that people would make, historians would make, well, this is impossible. How could any Europeans get to the center of the continent when Christopher Columbus barely made the outskirts? Well, that's because that's all BS.
I've definitely seen the Israelite and Hebrew remnants that are from like I would think about 2,000 years ago. You know, they migrated and they left a lot of evidence.
Well, they were over here too, by the way.
Yeah, that is true. That's what I think. I mean, I kind of get into more that I'm like.
I know this is true. I have a lot of reasons for saying that. But if your audience wants to learn a little bit more about Hebrews in America, there are 3 different facts that 3 different artifacts that I think are important for people to look up. One is called the Bat Creek Stone. You know, a bat, like a bat. Creek Stone, that's one. I would ask you to have them look up the Newark Holy Stones that were found in Ohio. And I would also ask you to investigate what are some of the most amazing artifacts, in my opinion, probably next in line behind the Kensington Rune Stone, are the Tucson lead artifacts. 32 artifacts that were found buried in 6 feet of colluvium that was cemented, naturally cemented, back in 1924 to 1930. They found 32 artifacts, and there's Hebrew writing on them. There's Latin. They are absolutely amazing. Star people. Yeah, those are the native. That's what the natives call the people that come down and visit us.
That is probably where we got our influence from, I suggest. I would think, right?
Well, look, the natives have had it figured out all along. And one of the greatest tragedies in the history of this country is the genocide that was committed against them for the sake of taking their land and committing cultural genocide against the ones that they didn't kill. And it never should have happened. I mean, the indigenous people that I've interacted with, it's amazing what happens when you treat people with respect. You get it back, right? You get what you give. And I've been involved in their Medewin rituals, their Freemasonry, if you will, with sweats. And they're just amazing. And it's really, it's a sad thing, but it's never too late to right a wrong. And I think that's a difficult part of our history that we have to face and acknowledge and do whatever we can to try to make it right, because the natives know all about the Templars. They know all about these cultures that came here long before the Templars, and they have ways of keeping track of their history that would astound us. And anybody that says that oral traditions are like the telephone game, they deserve to get a slap in the face, because that's insulting to the indigenous people. It's hardly the telephone game. They know what they're doing, let me tell you.
Hey, if you want to go ahead and speak upon that, let my viewers know. I would definitely appreciate that myself. More about the native traditions. I'm in the Yakima Valley, a Yakima tribe that's Indian reservations right by me. This is a very magical place.
Where do you live? You
entities-
live in, you said
Washington State.
Okay.
Yes, right underneath where Graham Hancock and Randall Carlson are talking about the Younger Dryas area.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah, and the channeled scab lands of Montana and Idaho. Oh yeah, I know
Yes.
brothers Randall and Graham quite well, and they do some rock solid work. Pardon the pun, but they really do a great job. And so, yeah, pay attention to them. Graham, Graham gets a lot of crap like I've got. I mean, we commiserate about that. We got academics that are coming after us that aren't even acting like academics. And most of these people coming after us are in these soft science, humanities disciplines, which are wonderful disciplines. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to put them down. But these people have gone out and accused me of not understanding proper scientific method. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I run a damn laboratory. I do it all day, every day. Give me a break, Anyway, unfortunately, I'm going to have to scoot here, but I want a rain check. I want to come back and finish this.
Absolutely, my friend. This has been an enlightening conversation, and my guests love you, and I do too. Look, man, this is right at home with me because look, around me there are names of occult and secret society. Like I live in a very magical state. I mean, there's people that are very in my close circle who have dealt with Masonic and Templar people. Like this is something that's been part of my path my whole life, and I have been honored to speak to you today, my friend, and I'm looking forward to the future of what you're talking about, what you're uncovering, and just the conversations we'll have. I'm sure my guests will chime in throughout the whole time and sing along with us. This is, the song of the universe that we're playing, the magical, it's literally spiritual. It's esoteric. I mean, we've been doing this song and dance for thousands of years, literally.
Well, the natives certainly have for at least 10,000 years, and I know it's gone on much longer than that. But well, first of all, I want to thank you for having me on, and I really appreciate your followers chiming in, and they seem to be having a good time. I'm having a good time, so we can definitely continue this. I did want to tell you that I used to live on Mercer Island when I was young. I think in second and third grade, and I still have some of my best memories of running around on Mercer Island. You know where that is, right? In Seattle.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's in Seattle. It's a great place. You live in a beautiful state, both on the West Coast and on the East side, where you get into the Scablands. And
I think that's why George Washington himself put his face here. I mean, I think it's been a long plan. Lewis and Clark were sent over here. I think they know a little bit more about this, what's underneath our land. See, I think that there's something underneath these mountains they're not telling us.
Well, I tell you what, the next time we get together, ask me about Lewis and Clark, because I have some inside information that I'm sure you haven't heard that I know you're going to like and your listeners are going to like too. So let's do this again soon, and have fun with Haley, and let me know when you want to get together again, Joseph. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Me and my brothers love the Oregon Trail game. So, hey, so where can my viewers find you? Let's finish off with this.
Real quick, I would say if people want to interact and ask questions, I respond to anybody who goes to my blog site, which is scottwolteranswers.blogspot.com. I have if you're interested in taking a look at my books, go to www.hookedx.com, HOOKEDX.com. Any books bought off the website, I sign them all. I'll personalize them for you, whatever you want. And Other than that, I've got a speaking event coming in the early part of February at the Conscious Life Expo in Los Angeles, California. And I've got some other talks coming up down in Florida and other places. And I'm out there, man. I'm shaking the trees, and we're trying to make a difference.
Well, I think we are part of the tree of life, and I know we have fruit and blessings in abundance, my friend. And may the future and this new year be powerful for you.
All right. Joseph, thank you so much. Thanks to your viewers, and we'll be talking again soon.
Indeed, blessings, and have a good day.
All right. Talk to you later.
Peace. All right, guys, you heard that. You heard that. All right. We had a great time here today. Literally, learning about America can be fun. I mean, personally, once I started learning about the ancient history and origins and how this is very magical, I started looking outwards and looking at these quarries, looking at these crystals, the gemstones. He mentioned the agate from Minnesota. And look, man, like, all right, around here, there's a lot of crystals, there's a lot of quartz, there's a lot of gemstones. It's a beautiful place. Once you actually understand this, you vibe with it, you shine with it, you literally take your life to a new height, and you can glow like I am. You see me glowing. It's the skin, it's the vibe, it's everything. You know, we got little quartz up in our skin, and once you align your energy to the energy of the ancients, that quartz shines. Hey, my friends, I'm going to take a quick break. So while I do that, you guys sit right back and enjoy, and then I'll be back and just talk about a few news articles. All right. Let me BRB.
Gonna go far, that's what we on the run for, go hard. Sipping gin while we sitting, spitting those bars. Getting rich, got a vision, get the show cards. Lot of money laying around cause we go hard, always go hard. Spitting fire, see the sonar, hope they resonate with the vibe. Feel like Mozart, really I'm alive in my soul, feel like Mozart. That's what hoes are, too explosive so I show art. Yeah, I make art, sad to see people with no heart. I work to replace all of the negative, I go far with it. I'ma show all of these bitches no complaining. If you with it, don't you dream me, see the vision. Need my energy, the mission, really take all my precision. Every single day I picture where I'll be the day we get it. Feed the brothers, feed the fam, I don't really give a damn. I don't wanna get famous, I wanna lend a hand. Give the cash and rubber bands to the people always standing on my side, always down the ride, say I planned it. I'm the guy, like the supersized on the planet. In my mind, I don't gotta try, already have it. I'll be doing damage, I was born a savage. In my mind, I already died, living lavish. Heaven is a state of mind, be glad if you have it. Living in a simulation, be patient to grab it. Universe will bring it to you if you ain't an average. If you live an average, then Satan found to manage your life. I'm just trying to tell you, if you gonna roll the dice, gamble in your life instead of living precise. I ain't perfect, but I'm gonna earn it. No, it don't concern anybody but my person. Lesson that I learned is that people are gonna burn. Anything you do, they gonna pay the price. Nothing nice come in life for the dipshits. They just wish shit, never gonna manifest it. Never catch me resting, short-term blessings. I just want my brain to work so I can write my next hit. Ignite the blessings, manifest my life, never question a moment in my life. I be knowing that it's meant to be, this my destiny. All the rest of my life really history. The day that I'm finally gone, they'll be missing me. Your position be the reason that I'm gone. 200 songs done, I've been on the run. I ride a wave, make a way, I'm the one. I stay the same, but I'm changing a ton. Rearranging my brain for the gains through the sun. I've been absorbing the light, I could say that I won. At least I'm conscious of what I'm doing, praying a ton. Relay all the information, staying patient with the shit. I write a hit just to get through all the shit. I ain't a bitch, so I'll make it. I ain't dealing with a prick, I'm finna take over the game. Really, I'm getting in, I'm really glad that you're here to witness it. I'm about to fix entire rap game. You could call it magic like a trick. Classic with the way I spit it. They be clapping when it hits. I be snapping on this shit. I've been rapping, feeling lit.
What is good, my dudes, my girls? How y'all doing? I hope you guys are high like me, man. I am vibing, enlightening y'all up into the horizon. I got the bars like Verizon. Now, you see that my eyes lit. Man, I'm shining like a diamond. My flow is so timeless. I'm about to just switch. Let's do this, guys. So this is some news for you, all right? Now, just couple articles, nothing too big. I just want to run it off and let you guys know what's up. There's just a few things I seen that were interesting. All right, now guys, check this out. We talk about that graphene, we talk about that nanotech. Well, it's just getting worse. Move over graphene. There's a new super material in town, graphulurine. A new family of carbon superstructures discovered for futurologists to fizz over. Graphene, the much hyped supermaterial yet to transform industry, has competition on the block in the form of a related 3D carbon structure made up of linked balls. The new material, dubbed graphulurine, could have the potential applications in new kinds of optical and electronic devices, owing its ability to confine and polarize light, as well as its quantum properties. Researchers led by the Columbia University Associate Professor of Chemistry, Xavier Rory, had developed the new structure by combining two existing forms of carbon. The first, graphene, is a well-known two-dimensional lattice of carbon atoms which provoked such enthusiasm and speculation following its discovery in Manchester in 2004. The second is fullerene, which forms the carbon lattice into a ball, named after the 20th century futurist Buckminster Fuller. The resulting two-dimensional structure of linked carbon balls is called graphulurine, and its three-dimensional solid, graphulurite. Graphulurine is made up of layers of linked fullerenes peeled into ultra-thin flakes from a larger graphulurite crystal. Roy told online publication phys.org that because each ball was made up of 60 carbon atoms, fullerenes could be linked in a number of different ways, resulting in a variety of electronic, magnetic, and optical properties. The current result, published in Nature this week, is just one possible configuration. I'm going to just pause this. So this is really weird because this same type of thinking made carbon C60 or C60 purple power. If you guys know about C60 purple power, I've been talking about it for quite some time. I've been taking it. I used to take it. I haven't taken it for a couple months. I was taking it for about 2 years, and it's a carbon replenisher, and it helps restructure the carbon in your body. You know how we're made up of oxygen, hydrogen, carbon, and whatever, nitrogen, I think, whatever. Well, when we heal our carbon, we get better. We get stronger. Now, this takes the same exact person, Buckminster Fuller, and his research, and just the type of thinking, and just creates new nanotech. So this is right on point with the stuff that I've been dealing with over the last few years on my own research and time. Now, carbon C60, if anybody wants a huge booster to their power, take purple power C60. It costs like $400 per bottle, but bruh, like you'll notice it's $400 per bottle. You'll feel like you're $1,000 per day. You'll be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And it's all natural stuff, so it's awesome. Continuing forward, graphulurite crystals are charged neutral and then exfoliated molecularly thin flakes that have no residual counterions or impurities, providing a platform for the investigations of confined light and the construction of quantum materials-based devices. This study also reveals that there is an entire family of higher and lower dimensional superatomic forms of carbon that may be chemically prepared and studied. So now you guys are seeing they're talking about higher and lower dimensional forms, super forms, you know. We're getting to that point in nature and science. First author and Columbia postdoctoral researcher Elena Mirzadeh created the first crystals of graphulurite in a high temperature process involving the magnesium scaffold that was later removed with acid after a year's worth of work. I thought it would fall apart, but it remained intact. Seeing it intact, pure carbon crystal that we could easily exfoliate and study was a great surprise. Exciting though it may be, discoveries like this can become the victim of hype. In 2011, George Osborne backed graphene with $50 million in government funding to take the discovery of British laboratory to the British factory floor, but the material has yet to make much of an impact. In 2019, Nature urged patience with new material discoveries, pointing out that bringing a new material to market has the potential to shift entire industries. It could take 20 or 30 years before science-based innovations translate into commercial activities. Well, see, that's the problem. They need to quit looking at this as a commercial activity. Just allow this to flourish as a human ingenuity. You cannot commercialize every single aspect of your life, which is why I am not letting you guys have to pay for this, pay for my viewing, pay for the information. Yes, I do rely on your support for the funding, but I'm not selling every single episode and banning people from, like, you can't just commercialize everything. And you know what I mean? It argued, pointing out that there are 134 years between the discovery of silicon and the creation of the silicon chip. Fascinating. So the discovery of silicon was in 1824, and the first creation of the silicon chip was in 1958. Roy said fullerenes are already used in building organic photovoltaic cells and in medicine and contrast agents for MRI and X-ray imaging to deliver drug therapies, while graphene is being actively explored for potential uses in electronics, nanotechnology, energy applications, and more. Now we've combined them together into this new form of carbon. We don't know exactly what will come out of this work, but it will be very exciting to explore. So everyone is talking about graphene, but now there's a new material, and it's very fascinating. I'll say that. Moving forward, scientists say that they're now actively trying to build conscious robots. If we can create a machine that will have consciousness on par with a human, this will eclipse everything else we've done. 2022 was a banner year for artificial intelligence, and particularly taking into account the launch of OpenAI's incredibly impressive ChatGPT, the industry is showing no sign of stopping. But for some industry leaders, chatbots and image generators are far from the final robotic frontier. Next up is consciousness. This topic was taboo, says Hod Lipson, the mechanical engineer in charge of the Creative Machines Lab at Columbia University. We were almost forbidden from talking about it. Don't talk about the consciousness word. You won't get tenure. So in the beginning, I had to disguise it like it was something else. Aha. Hey, there you go. Consciousness is one of the longest standing, most divisive questions in the field of artificial intelligence. Yes, I spoke on that kind of today, where I kind of think that there's some golem aspect to this. And while to some it's science fiction, the indeed has been the plot of countless sci-fi books, comics, and films to others like Lipson. It's a goal, one that would undoubtedly change human life as we know it for good. This is not just another research question that we are working on. This is the question. This is bigger than curing cancer. I agree. Well, kind of. Look, we can cure cancer, but with this consciousness, artificial intelligence, adapt you to a metaverse-like world, create you an avatar and have you play digitally with your life, like CBDC. It's going to be digital, and if you involve an avatar, then you're kind of fucked, because then at some point you have no control, and you just gave up your control. If we could create a machine that will have consciousness on par with the human, this will eclipse everything else we done. The machine itself can cure cancer. Jesus Christ, that's their goal, I guess. Hey, at least this woman or this person, I don't know. Hot is such an ambiguous name. I don't know if that's a guy or girl. Well, we're trying to delve into consciousness and disguise it in order to really explore it and bring it to the forefront. I respect this person, good guy. And them saying that they want to cure cancer, that's probably another good guy statement. I'll be real. Of course, the biggest issue that the industry runs into with the question of consciousness, other than the technological challenge that it would undoubtedly be, is the fact that, well, the concept itself doesn't really have a firm definition in the field or beyond it. Philosophically, consciousness is vague and debatable bullshit. So this is what the mainstream wants you to listen to. But there is some notes in here that is very important, like them trying to create a conscious robot. Now, as far as if it's going to happen, who knows? But just be aware that is what they're trying to do. And scientifically, as the New York Times notes, efforts to tidily nail consciousness down to specific brain functions or otherwise signifiers tends to fall flat. There are also a number of deeply ethical questions that arise with just the concept of machine consciousness, particularly related to machine labor. For his part, Lipson has his own definition of consciousness, that being the capacity to imagine yourself in the future, as explained by the New York Times. Thus, the engineer has focused a great deal of his career on working to build adaptable machines, generalized intelligence that can learn to evolve by machine-learned natural selection, responding in kind of changing environments and errors or injury within the mechanical body. In other words, a machine with the ability to not only learn more and correct responsibly as machines do now, but a machine, the ability might evolving to suit that vision. It's a slight distinction, but an important one. Even so, considering that consciousness has no set definition, it's hard to co-sign any particular one. It's also impossible to ignore the fact that humans really, really like to anthropomorphize about anything we can, from toasters to pets to vegetables and more. Such a tendency to exceedingly present in the field of robotics and artificials, where those building machines constantly project human features, both physical and intellectual, onto the devices that they create. And to that end, it's always worth asking whether those machines actually possess the qualities that researchers like Lipson imagine they one day will, or whether scientists, as a result of their own human urges, are projecting humanity or nature or consciousness onto very much conscious machines and onto very much not conscious machines. Very bad writing. Reflecting back what they hope to see rather than what it is. It's not an illusion. There is very conscious things, as animals and all that. There's a hubris of wanting to create life, Lipson told the New York Times. It's the ultimate challenge, like going to the moon. Moving forward, my friends. An organism that can dine exclusively on viruses has been found in a world bird. Yeah, oh my God. A type of freshwater plankton has become the first organism seen thriving on a diet of viruses. This is good. They found a freshwater, seawater, ocean, whatever, organism that can destroy viruses. It just eats them up like nom 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 nom. Let's read this. Viruses are often consumed incidentally by a range of organisms and may even season the diets of certain marine protists. But to qualify as a true step in the food chain described as burovory, viruses ought to contribute a significant amount of energy or nutrients to the consumer. The microbe Halteria is a common genus of protist known to flit about its hair like cilia propel. It's known to flit about its hair and propel it through the water. Not only did laboratory samples of the celiac consume chloroviruses added to the environment, the giant virus fueled Halteria's growth and increased its population size. The knock-on effects of widespread consumption of chloroviruses in the wild could have a profound impact on the carbon cycle. Known to infect microscopic green algae, chloroviruses cause their hosts to burst apart, releasing carbon and other nutrients into the environment, a process that serious amounts of virus eating could be limited. If you multiply a crude estimate of how many viruses there are, how many ciliates there are, and how much water there is, it comes out to this massive amount of energy movement up the food chain. if this is happening at the scale we think it could be, it should completely change our view on global carbon cycling. Indeed, we got to look more for these natural systems. This is a system nature made, and they finally discovered it. It's been around for millions of years, I bet. The research has been 3 years in the making and was based on the idea that the sheer number of viruses and microorganisms that can be found in water may well lead to the former being eaten by the latter, though there weren't many previous studies that the scientists could turn to for reference. There's some good stuff inside viruses that an organism is looking for, including amino acids, nucleic acids, lipids, nitrogen, and phosphorus. The team collected pond water samples and added chloroviruses to them, looking to see if any species treated the viruses like food. That led them to Halteria and Paramecium, both of which were thriving in the water. While the Paramecium snacked on the viruses, its size and numbers barely budged. Halteria, on the other hand, died on them, using the chlorovirus as a source of nutrients. The ciliate population grew about 15 times larger in 2 days, while the virus population dropped 100-fold. Listen to that, guys. Like, this isn't just some bullshit news that I'm telling you. This is important because medicine can very much thrive off of this. They found a ciliate, a virus eater that grows 15 times larger while it eats the virus, drops the viruses down to a minuscule. So if they can learn to harness this for human benefit, human immunity, then that could be great. At first, it was just a suggestion that there were more of the Halteria organisms, but then they were big enough that I could actually grab some with a pipette tip, put them in a clean drop, and be able to count them. Fluorescent green dye was used to tag chlorovirus DNA before it was introduced to the 2 types of plankton. This confirmed that the viruses were being eaten. The vacuoles, microbial equivalent of stomachs, were glowing green from the feeding. Further analysis revealed that the growth of Halteria in comparison to the decline of the chlorovirus matched the ratios seen in other microscopic predator-versus-prey relationships in aquatic environments, giving the team more evidence of what is happening. There's still a lot to explore. Next, the researchers want to look at how virovores might affect the food web and how the evolution of species and resilience of populations. Before that, though, they need to gather evidence of this happening in the world. I was motivated to determine whether or not this was weird, or if this is not weird. It's just that nobody noticed it. Now we have to go out and find this in nature. This is a great piece of news. I mean, personally, like, it's just something to look forward to, guys. You know, gotta be hopeful. Because this shit right here, geez, this is not cool. And honestly, if any elite tries to tell me to get off coffee rice, it's game over. I will not listen. I will shut them out, block them. I'll be like, yo, you're tripping, son. Because this is what the elite want. Remember, they want to control your carbon imprint. They want to control how much you buy, what you say, what you think, what you eat, what you do, how you do it, yada, yada, yada. They want to track all your fucking movements through this damn freaking technology, matrix they got going on, this, I mean, hey, it's breaking. The more that we talk about it, it breaks. But let's just go ahead and show you what they really want for you. All right. Coffee, chocolate, and rice are an endangered species because of carbon fucking climate change bullshit. Okay. Climate is threatening our future crops, and some of the losses we'll experience might be staggering. Okay. It's hard to imagine that the world that far ahead into the future, but decades now, it's increasingly likely that many global food sources, from indulgent trees to staple crops, will cease to exist. Okay. A number of foods that we hold very dear to our hearts and largely take for granted are under a real threat. Okay. Said former White House chef Sam Cass in a recent interview. Okay. And you're seeing in the future, we're on track for a lot of those to become quite scarce, and some really to be largely unavailable to most people, and others just significantly increased in cost. Okay. So they're telling you you're poor climate change said, or how about this? You're poor, and their disruption of the carbon network, the climate change of this world. It's all bullshit. I don't like calling it that. Let's just call it the climate bullshit. They're saying because of their richness and your poorness and the way that they're causing this climate bullshit, they're doing it on purpose. And they want you to suffer with some of the most happy foods, the foods that we know to be best with us: coffee, chocolate, rice. Those are like literally staples of like happiness. Such products include wine, chocolate, coffee, shellfish, and rice. Cast notes. We've known for some time that coffee plants are in serious danger due to climate change, but the idea that it might be 100% impossible to obtain within our lifetime is less than a welcome thought. Okay. And of course, losing access to rice, a grain that feeds practically everyone on the planet, is virtually unthinkable. Rice production in particular releases an estimated 34 million billion trillion tons of methane per year, like cow farts, okay, released by microbes that grow in the flooded fields where rice is cultivated and pissed on. It's an unsustainable practice, to say the least. You're dirty. So what's the solution to crop extinction? Like, get rid of the White House. Duh. That's the solution. Cass suggests that while eating less red meat and including more whole grains and beans into your diet will go a long way. Regenerative farming practices are where we should be headed, okay? Regenerative farming, also called regenerative agriculture, is a practice you'll likely hear much more about in the near future. It's a holistic approach to agriculture that works in tandem with nature instead of against it, meaning that farming plays a role in the overall health of the ecosystem. The Chesapeake Bay Foundation explains regenerative farming using 5 basic principles. Okay. Minimalizing soil disturbances, meaning soil isn't agitated in physical or chemical ways. That's actually something good. Okay. Soil coverage, ensuring that all soil is covered in vegetation or natural ground cover like mulch. Okay. Increase plant diversity to keep the ecosystem varied and healthy. Okay. Keeping roots established underground, which helps ensure that soil can capture excess water and not lose nutrients or moisture. Okay. Integrating farm animals into the process. Example would be using manure as fertilizer to help soil stay nutrient dense without chemical or commercial fertilizers. Okay. The hope is that by using these techniques, they become normalized and adopted across agriculture to prepare for the coming decades. Changing the existing agriculture standards is a monumental task, but if our food system can learn to keep the crops in tune with nature, we will not lose coffee, chocolate, rice, chickens, vegetables, your life, my life, and we can capture carbon and stay fed in the process. Because I sure love my morning cup of coffee. Jesus Christ, bro! Like, I get it. They're really trying to make a push for everybody to practice holistic and regenerative healing and farming, and get back to nature and do it the right way. Cut the chemicals, because this is what the article is about. I know I read it in Mackey's voice, but look, I mean, half of it. I don't know, man. I mean, this is hard to believe that wine, chocolate, coffee, shellfish, rice, and other stuff might just be out of normal population's pocket. But I've seen dumb shit happen in this world with politics and money. So who knows? But I really hope that that's just bullshit. Because yes, I could not live without my coffee, man. My coffee and my chocolate, my cocoa. Man, I got the coffee in my pocket. Man, so. No, I don't got coffee in my pocket, bro. It's a joke. It's a joke, but I got the energy like coffee. You know what I mean? I couldn't Stand not having chocolate, coffee, or rice. Personally, I love it, man. Sweet rice in the morning, a little bit of cinnamon, a little bit of milk. Ooh wee, ooh wee. Hey, I hope you guys eat some chocolate tonight and say fuck the New World Order. Drink some coffee in the morning, say fuck the New World Order. Eat some rice any time of the day, say fuck the New World Order. Because, hey, man, we're living, we're thriving, and we will heal this world. You know how it goes. It's 509 Divine Plans Podcast. We heal this shit. Because look, hey, am I right? The Center for Biological Diversity lawsuit launched challenging USDA's failure to protect endangered species from insecticide sprays over millions of acres in the United States West. This is us, guys. We are the West. 509 and Washington State and California heads and West Coast heads. We are the West. All right. So pay attention. The Xerxes Society and the Center for Biological Diversity filed a notice of intent today to sue the U.S. Department of Agriculture's secretive Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service for failing to properly consider harms to endangered species caused by insecticide spraying across millions of acres of western grasslands. APHIS oversees and funds the application of insecticides on rangelands in 17 states to prevent native grasshoppers from competing with livestock for forage. And I got to say, so yeah, whatever they're doing, the USDA they're definitely fucking up, because my city, Grandview, Washington, has a quarantine around them for an insect that shouldn't be here. It's called the Japanese beetle. Google this online. Grandview, Washington, quarantine, Japanese beetle. You'll find it. You'll see I'm telling the truth. This is weird shit. It's been happening since last year, and the quarantine's still on. All I know is the weather's been weird and the vibe has been weird. I'm sure that they're fucking spraying things here that people do not even know what the chemical property and ingredient list is. It's just weird. The main insecticide spraying is diflubenzuron, which kills insects and humans in their immature stages. It is typically sprayed from airplanes overseas of at least 10,000 acres. Studies have shown the insecticide reduces populations of bees, butterflies, beetles, and a wide variety of other insects. Aquatic invertebrates consumed by endangered fish and trout are also vulnerable. Oh, thanks. Grassland ecosystems are home to many endangered and threatened species, including flowering plants, mollusks, and different mammals. Several once common species on rangelands, including greater sage grouse, monarch butterflies, and western bumblebees, are in steep decline and are the focus of conservation efforts, including possible listing under the Endangered Species Act. Many protected species depend directly on insects for their food or for pollination. And if you have noticed, every year it seems like there's less and less insects. I think Bill Gates has something to do with that piece of shit. Xerxes doesn't enter into lawsuits lightly, but in this case, the risks are too great, says Scott Black, executive director at the Xerxes Society. Over 80% of animals in grasslands are insects. When these are harmed by insecticide sprays, it could cause a cascade of effects of many endangered grassland species that rely on insects to survive. That is endangered species like yellow-billed cuckoos, black-footed ferrets, bull trout, Ute ladies, tresses, orchids, Oregon-spotted frogs, and Spalding catchflies are present in multiple states in which the insecticide spraying program operates. But APHIS has failed to properly consider how the widespread insecticide use may harm these species across their range, as required under the Endangered Species Act. The last time APHIS completed a programmatic look at its rangeland pesticides program affects endangered species, birds, and plants. Bill Clinton was in his first term of president. Oh, that piece of shit. Friends was in its second season, and Google didn't review this shit in ages, is what they're saying. So they haven't updated their policies. It's way past time for APHIS to take a look on how dosing hundreds of thousands of acres across the West with pesticides impacts the species that need the most protection. So, fuck. They're literally using a 20-year-old pesticide program killing us in the West. Fucking A. Makes sense. Other insecticides approved for use in the spraying program include highly toxic carbaryl and malathion, and a newer insecticides chlorotraniliprole. The Environmental Protection Agency has determined that carbaryl is likely to harm 1,640 listed species, or 91% of all endangered species and animals, and malathion is likely to harm 1,835 listed species, or 97% of all endangered plants and animals. Chloria traniliopol is a systematic pesticide, meaning it has absorbed by plants, leaves, pollen, and nectar, exposing bees and butterflies for an extended time. Studies show it is highly toxic to monarch butterflies and other caterpillars. It's outrageous that amid our heartbreaking extinction crisis, APHIS continues to give itself carte blanche to spray incredibly toxic poisons on millions of acres of wildlife habitat throughout the West, said Lori Ann Burt, Director of Environmental Health at the Center of Biological Diversity. They've made it a habit of refusing to follow the law, and now we're going to hold them accountable. The states in which the insecticide spraying is approved include Arizona, California, Colorado, Idaho, Kansas, Montana, Nebraska, Nevada, New Mexico, North Dakota, Oklahoma, Oregon, South Dakota, Texas, Utah, Washington, and Wyoming. Federal agencies are required to consult with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services when they undertake projects that may affect listed species. Yet APHIS and the service may not have complete programmatic consultation for grassland insecticide programs for 27 years. Fuck, that's a long time. Since then, many species potentially affected by the program have been listed as endangered, including bull trout, northern Idaho ground squirrels, northern long-eared bats, Preble's metal jumping mice, and Oregon spotted frogs. Beyond impacts to federally listed species, APHIS's program poses large risks to grassland ecosystems. Insects are a critical, often overlooked part of functioning planet and society. Most birds, freshwater fish, and mammals consume insects as food. People and wildlife also depend on insect pollination for fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. These ecological contributions generate significant monetary value. One study found that insects contribute more than $70 billion per year to the U.S. economy. The public supports protection for wildlife and is especially concerned with the welfare of pollinators, which are negatively affected by these spray programs. 80% of Western voters agree that loss of pollinators is a serious problem, according to a 2020 Colorado College poll. This concern held true in every state and across all types of communities. Cities were affected by 85%, suburbs affected by 81%, small towns affected by 77%, rural areas affected by 76%. Poof. That is a big piece of news. So what I see from this, that this came out May 24th last year. That's roughly 7 months ago. So I imagine that now we will see the West have clean air, clean sprays. Like, okay, it's gonna get a little bit better. I hope. I can see that. I can just, I'm kind of guessing that. There's no actual proof for that, but what I see that they're even, look, it's a lawsuit, right? So what happens after a lawsuit? Change happens. So the change is going to be this 27-year-old doctrination program, and they're going to alter it. So they're going to, refresh it, and they're going to what will probably happen is that all these endangered species and all of the chemicals being used to harm them will be removed. So the endangered species will be healed and they come back, and there will be a lot of reforestation and conservation efforts to take care of the land, heal the biodiversity and the ecological systems found in nature. So this is cool. I mean, like, not the pesticides part, but the fact that they are suing the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Like, fuck this, guys. Like, they're killing us. So this is cool. And that is all for today, my friends. I want to thank you guys for being here. I appreciate every single one of you. We will talk about Lewis and Clark next time with Scott Wolter. And thank you, Sweetly Morbid Bear, for coming on and being here. Appreciate you and your energy. I love it. I'm in Washington State. I am on the southern edge of it, and close to Oregon. I'm in a beautiful valley located, in one of the best states. I'm not even saying that like just to hype it up too much. I'm saying that because like literally, realistically, just it's one of them states, man. It's one of those amazing states, one of those divine places. And yeah, man, I love it here. And I hope you guys love your location too. I'm going to go ahead and get off. It's about a 1 hour, 30-minute broadcast. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Earlier today, I had a crazy episode with Eric Hecker about Antarctica. That dude put me on the spot because I look, man, I don't know why. I was so unprepared for that podcast. My mind was blank. I don't know. It was, who knows why, but it happens, right? Whatever. So the first half hour was like crazy. Second half hour, hey, everything was good. It was just a solid conversation, and it was great. Go ahead, check it out, but like, don't hate me for the first hour and a half, because man, I got lectured. Yeah, I hope you guys are having an amazing day. Go smoke some weed. Go heal. Cook some food. Love yourself. Love your friend. Love your neighbor. And be blessed. Be high. I will see you next time on the 509 Divine Pines podcast tomorrow. Let me just clarify. I believe I have Charlie Robinson. Let me double check. Yeah, I believe I have Charlie Robinson on tomorrow. So let's be looking forward to that. Let's all be excited for it, because that one's gonna be a good one, man. It's gonna be an awesome one. So yeah, and then Friday I got Pat Militic. I do have Rolly on, looking for Thursday. So if anybody knows about a guest on Thursday, man, hit me up. Anybody wants to come in on Thursday, let's do this. And yeah, hey,
Meditating, analyzing everything I see, so I see new horizons. Took the acid, feeling blasted in my brain, so I've been sitting up inside it, thinking about the present and the future. I'm improving cause I am a trooper, never getting caught up in the loop. Got up out it cause I found the truth. Woke up to a beauty of the day, the sun is shining, so I'm finna stay sitting, soaking up all of the rays, till I feel it surging through my brain like some booger sugar. Did a lot of cane, experimented with it, couldn't name all the times I did it, feeling like a fade. Yeah, I'm really glad that I let it go, cause I gotta be prepped for the time when the plane ride is a new norm. So I know I'm gonna stay high, blaze on the ganja, feeling like I make my music go to another level while I take off. I can't ever stop this, fell in love with it, fit like a glove, so I'm never ever done with it. So now I'm about to rip another beat, ayy. One day I'll make $1 million in a week, yeah, shooting for the top spot, feel like I'm a hot shot, like I really got a chance with it. I will not flop, somebody gonna make a dance when I pop off, gonna have all the bitches taking all the tops off. I've been feeling like I'm really gonna kill it for the rest of my life, so I've been staying focused. In my soul, I've been feeling like $1 million, so I know that everything is really getting closer. Yeah, no posers, only been hanging with the ones I've chosen. Only all the people that are living in the right way, cause they spending every day growing. Yeah, no whole shit coming in my life and then leaving in a moment. That's the shit I'll never let into my life again, cause lately I've been feeling like I'm golden. Never showboat, I just showcase on my music that I made this far. Always knew that I could be the one that would get this far. Now I'm right here looking in my mirror, trying to figure out if there's any more fear, cause I'm getting rid of it all, yeah. Yeah, I'm getting rid of it all. Meditating, analyzing everything I see, so I see new horizons. Took the acid, feeling blasted in my brain, so I've been sitting up inside it, thinking about the